Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. On today's show, Ezekiel Elliott is making headlines for the wrong reasons again. Plus, NBA legend Dr. J weighs in on Lonzo Ball, the Big Three, and the LeBron versus Jordan debate. Also, Michael Vick is in studio to talk all things football, including who he predicts will be in the Super Bowl next year. Skip, Shannon, let's debate. Well, let's get right to it. We've got Michael Vick and Dr. J coming on the show today, but we're starting it off with breaking news. 105.3 The Fan in Dallas is reporting that Ezekiel Elliott was involved in an incident at a Dallas bar late last night. No arrests have been reported. Zeke is already being investigated by the NFL for a domestic abuse case last summer, and ESPN's Adam Schefter reported last week that Zeke could face a 1 or 2 game suspension. Skip? Your reaction?
Joy, Shannon. I am about to give up on Ezekiel Elliott getting it, figuring it out before the worst happens. And I don't know what the worst is because I don't even want to let my head go there, but you know what I'm talking about. Just whatever some inexplicable worst is. It just feels like it's coming because this kid who is so extremely gifted just doesn't get it off the field. So it was just Friday that we had a report from Adam Schefter on ESPN saying that Zeke was bracing for a 1 or 2 game suspension. So we talked about it on the show, and we both concurred that, gee, this seems unfair. You know, like it looks like the NFL is looking for something that just never was there because he got cleared in Columbus, Ohio, in that investigation by the police, and cleared in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, that investigation by that police department, and we're saying, gee, this is really rubbing it in. You know, this is looking for something that that may not have been there. And yet, now this happens the weekend after that happened, and it just shows you that he thinks he's bulletproof. He thinks he's, quote unquote, above at least the NFL law. And as I keep saying, remember we had the Damian Wilson incident of about 10 days ago. It happened on the 4th of July, in which he was in a parking lot ahead of a 4th of July celebration, and road rage occurred. Remember that one? And he backed his car in because somebody was tailgating and taking a couple of spaces, and he wanted that one, and the woman said no, and so he backed his car, I don't know, over her, but he at her.
Kind of nudged out the
her,
way, yeah.
And then he brandished some sort of rifle. Lord have mercy. You just can't do it. You know you can't do it. I know you can't do it, but Dallas Cowboys routinely do it in Dallas. And the more I think about it, I've told you the whole long litany of history in Dallas, of Dallas Cowboys dating back to God's coach Tom Landry's Dallas Cowboys, who were about as out of control as any pro football team in the league at that point. It's Sin City, man. It's Fort Worth. Dallas-Fort Worth is like Sodom and Gomorrah for Dallas Cowboys. It's the worst place Ezekiel Elliott could be. So now we do have the domestic abuse accusations from Ohio State. And now in Dallas, we had him going to visit a marijuana dispensary in Seattle ahead of that preseason game. Just curious, just checking it out. What? He was?
I went to the fish market, Skip. That's why I was curious about the fish market, see him throw the fish.
I always went to the fish market. Pike Street?
Yes.
Yeah, it was really good. But the point is, what are you doing? And yet that was a pivotal game that night because Romo got hurt, Dak played again very well, and Ezekiel went headhunting in the Seattle secondary and said, I'm here, NFL, what are you going to do about me?
Correct.
And he backed it up the rest of the year, obviously. But then St. Patrick's Day celebration, he's up on the rooftop and he pulls the woman's top down. It's a terrible look, out of bounds. And then he's involved as a passenger in some sort of car accident. We don't know exactly what the details were, but it's just another thing. And then I was told by a very good source in Dallas that there was an incident during the season in which he was involved in a fight in a bar that got, sort of swept under the carpet. We didn't hear about it. It never hit the news cycle.
The people at home probably didn't hear about
it.
You and I heard about
it. Punches were thrown. I don't know. Does he have a problem with alcohol? Does he have a problem with the drug? I have no idea, but it's starting to look like that kind of behavior or misbehavior because it just routinely happens. He keeps daring the devil. And I've said on this show, going back to its roots back in New York City, the cold pizza days back in 2004, my longtime theme, nothing good ever happens after midnight, especially in any sort of club situation. Alcohol, drugs, firearms, women, testosterone. It's the lethal mix. Bad things happen, yet he continues to subject himself to bad things happening to him when he has a potential, I'm going to go this far, it's a potential Hall of Fame career sitting right there before him.
Yep.
And you're willing to repeatedly risk it doing this. Again, no charges filed this time, but I'm willing to bet you this will cinch it that he'll get at least a 1-game suspension, if not a 2-game suspension. It's just another bad look. It's more conduct unbecoming. And my final point is, back in the days, Pac-Man Jones was a Dallas Cowboy, and in the early days of Des Bryant as a Dallas Cowboy, they had security details with them 24 hours. Des opted to have one. I think he paid for it, but Jerry paid for the one for Pac-Man, just to keep them out of trouble because they couldn't save themselves. And I'm wondering, did Jerry have anybody assigned to him or not? I don't know. You can't force it.
Right.
You can certainly advise it. You can recommend it. And I don't know, because it seems like if you had a security detail, they would say, you know what, this is probably not the best idea tonight, or let's get out of here before the trouble really escalates. But the trouble is always escalating around Ezekiel Elliott, and we've talked about it before, and my hunch gets stronger and stronger. He's not going to learn his lesson until he learns a really hard lesson, the worst way you can learn one.
Skip, you didn't mention the incident before the Green Bay Packer game. He was also involved in a fender bender before the Green Bay game last year, not counting the one in May this year. Skip, I said this when we first started, we opened this show and we started talking about this young man in early September. I said, Jerry Jones, the head coach, or whomever's in the front office, they'll never, ever be able to put their phone on silent or turn it off.
No.
And you hope it's not the worst of the worst situations. But as long as this young man is on their roster, they will always have something to worry about. Skip, he's one of these guys that just don't get it. Let me tell you what. Now, for me, I'm a type of guy, if my check engine light comes on, Skip, as soon as possible, I'm going to the dealership to see why. His check engine light comes on, he keeps driving. Oh, ain't nothing wrong. He keeps having these incidences. You know, the one in Ohio, the one in Fort Lauderdale, the one that no one really heard about, but unless you're in the really interworkings of the NFL, you heard about it. And now this, the St. Patrick's Day, the cops boarded the pontoon boat to make sure everybody.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that one.
There's always, and Skip, there's always going to be something with him. And he's the guy that it's going to have to go, and you hope no one loses their life. But something tragic as far as he's going to have to get in really, really deep water for him to come to the realization that I can't do what I'm doing. I can't continue down this path. And everybody, well, he hasn't been arrested, but he's getting all the warning signs.
Yep.
He's getting warning. Stop this, Zeke. He said, I realize that I'm a Cowboy. I play in Dallas. People view me and view Cowboys differently. Skip, that's what he said.
Yep.
And why he's saying that, yet he's engaging in the same behavior that's leading him down this dark path. Skip, I get it. Being a professional athlete, you strive and you work your whole life to become one. And then when you become one, you're like, wow, all of this. I got money, I got fame, I got cars. And it seems like some guys, let me see how much trouble I can get in. Other guys take the other approach. I don't want to do anything to mess this up. I don't want to put a black eye on my family's name. And I don't want to do anything that's going to bring negative attention to this organization. That's not how he thinks. He thinks he's above reproach. He thinks nothing can happen to him. He thinks because I'm Ezekiel Elliott, I'm one of the 2 biggest stars in Dallas, I can do whatever I want. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't go out. But Skip, when they said the place was closing, I always tried to leave before then. I'm out. If he said, we're crowded, no one else can get in, I'm good. You don't know who I am? I play for the Broncos. The man said, we're not letting anybody else in the club. I'm gone. he strikes you as a guy.
Here's the problem with you being a Bronco, a famous Bronco, a Pro Bowl Bronco, and you go in a nightclub, there are too many frustrated athletes in there, and again, you might be with your woman, or they might think you look sideways at their woman, and all of a sudden, who the hell do you think you are, Shannon Sharpe? And they're not in their right mind. They're in some altered state.
They're drinking that liquid courage.
Yeah, liquid courage. And again, we've talked about this before, but in the old days, back when I was a kid, it was just, all you had was this. You know, you're just going to settle it with your fist. Now somebody's going to settle it with a knife or a gun or whatever, a machine gun. And you just can't risk it because you can't win it.
No.
There's nothing good that's going to come out of that.
No. And the slightest thing, I mean, Skip, I mean, you know how the clubs are. They're crowded, Joy. You trying to, you can't say excuse me? Bro, I said excuse me.
Joy doesn't know. She doesn't know anything about the clubs.
You know, and as a professional athlete, the bigger you are, the more apt. People like, ain't nobody. There's no such thing as a fair fight, Skip. Nobody is knuckling up. Nobody's wilding anymore. You shoot a brother size. Zeke, you might be short, but when they look at you and they see how you're built, no one is trying to take you on head up.
Yep.
Why would you put yourself in that situation, Skip? Everybody, and I grant it, Cowboys, and everybody loves their Cowboys, and if you're in New England or wherever, Skip, but everybody does not love the Cowboys. Everybody is not happy for your success. And they feel that you come in there and you feel like you're walking on a cloud, and they feel that you're looking down on them. That might not even be the case, but that's what they think. That's their reality. And so by you continuously putting yourself in harm's way, Zeke, what is it that you do not understand? How many warnings must you get before the car puts you downside the road? Skip, Jerry knew what he was getting into. Jerry Jones is a very, very smart man. And I'm not saying that he's smart because he has a ton of money. But the way that you said that he had money, he lost everything, and to recumulate it again and got it double, quadruple, he did his homework on this young man.
Yep.
He sent people to Columbus. He said, because when you have that kind of money, you do research. They knew what they were getting with Ezekiel Elliott, because they got an opportunity to do investigation, stuff that never came out to the public.
Yep.
That only Ohio State officials and Ezekiel Elliott knew. The Dallas Cowboys knew. And what they're getting right now, Skip, money does not change a person. It will change your area code. It will change your zip code. It will change your bank account. It won't change who you are. It will make you a bigger of what you already are. If you like to party, Skip, you can you get some bottle service now. If you're a jerk, it makes you a bigger jerk. And Zeke has a problem with the nightlife and hanging out and having a good time. And now that he has more money than he probably ever dreamed of, he feels emboldened. But you're traveling down a really, really dark path, son, and you just don't get it. And I'm afraid, Skip, as you mentioned, something really, really, really is going to have to crack his head. And I don't mean it, I don't wish anything ever to happen bad. But something is going to happen to him for him to have an epiphany that, you know what, I can't keep going down this path.
No. And what one incident occurred that I took Dak Prescott to task for last year, about mid-year. He's in a nightclub and he is shaking and spraying champagne, and who's alongside him? Who's the ringleader of that little movement? It was he and Zeke side by side, and I will bet you it was Zeke's idea. And Dak said, okay, I'll go along with this. I'll celebrate. It was after maybe they'd won 4 in a row. I forget. But
somebody's birthday, wasn't it?
I forget.
They just wanted a reason to celebrate. It probably was nothing.
So we're going to do this topic in depth a little later in the show, but over the weekend, Charles Haley, now in the Hall of Fame, as he should be, compared Dak to Joe Montana, with whom obviously Charles played with and won Super Bowls with in San Francisco. And I get the comparison because it's mostly an off-field leadership comparison, locker room huddle comparison. And he's talking about the charisma, the sense of humor, the command in the locker room and the huddle, and chip on their shoulders, that they were similar. Joe was a 3rd-round pick, obviously Dak a 4th-round pick. And my point about this is it doesn't bother me, this comparison. We'll talk about it more in depth later, but it's because Dak is built to live up to that kind of pressure because he lived up to it all last year with Tony Romo just before the Pittsburgh game,
Right.
November, being cleared to play, looking over his shoulder.
And was practicing.
And Dak held him off all the way, and they won 11 straight games. So Dak is built to stand up to this. Dak is built to be the face of the franchise. Dak, I trust. But while I don't particularly trust my defense, I was thinking next year maybe the offense once again can slightly overcome the defense because I've picked him to get to the Super Bowl. But if you lose Zeke for a couple of games or more, all bets are off. So he has a responsibility to his football team that he is now once again letting down. Because the worst thing you can do to the NFL is just to rub their nose in it. You know, you're under investigation by them still. You're bracing for suspension, and what do? You go out and embarrass your franchise and the league again. The league will not love this.
Shouldn't you show contrition? Shouldn't you, while they're thinking about suspending you, shouldn't you show them that you've learned your lesson and you're a different guy now, Skip? But Skip, here in the backfield in which the all-time leading rusher ran in for 14 years, you would think, Emmett, how are you able to do what you accomplished? Lead the league in rushing, be a Super Bowl MVP, a league MVP, and keep your nose clean while you're in Dallas. How are you able to do it, Emmett? He has guys there. If Dak want to know something, he can get on the phone and call Troy.
No mercy. Before we move into the next topic, I want to bring in Skip and Shannon to tell you about a great offer for our listeners from Saks Underwear Company.
Guys, you may think all underwear is the same, that quality doesn't matter, but it does. Don't put up with a pair that's uncomfortable. You'll end up throwing it out in a few months. Instead, make the switch to the best, Saks underwear. These have it all. Comfortable fabrics with a great supportive design that allows you to move freely no matter what you're doing. They'll put your old pairs to shame. Take it from Shannon, a Pro Football Hall of Famer who's an active guy.
Comfort is very important when you work out. You don't want something too snug. You don't want something too loose. You want something that will absorb the moisture, but you feel comfortable in it. And the more comfortable you are when you work out, I believe the longer you will work out. And that's the most important thing. So I am glad I got an opportunity to try Saks Underwear Company, and they're working great for me.
Outside Magazine just had an article about how Saks has revolutionized underwear the same way Gore-Tex revolutionized jackets. And it's true. Saks has taken something we all need and made it better. Quality, support, and comfort. Everything you need. We want you to try Saks underwear with our special limited time deal. Go to our URL, saksunderwear.com/undisputed, and you'll get 20% off your first purchase. Pick up a few pairs. That's Saks with 2 X's, SAXX. Underwear.com/undisputed for 20% off your first purchase.
Thanks, guys. That's saksunderwear.com/undisputed for 20% off your first purchase. That's Saks with 2 X's. One more time, that's saksunderwear.com/undisputed. Now back to the show. No mercy. And we're joined now live in Philadelphia by Big Three coach and NBA legend Julius Erving. Welcome to Undisputed.
Nice to be on Undisputed.
So last night, Allen Iverson couldn't play in the game, so he just coached against your team. How disappointing was it that Iverson couldn't play in Philly?
Well, I think a lot of the fans were disappointed that Allen didn't play. They had the chant for the answer. They wanted Allen, but he had been dehydrated the night before and had a rough time. So just coaching was enough. They still showed him the respect and love that he deserves.
So, Julius, you're saying that you're buying the excuse that Allen gave that under his doctor's orders he could not play.
Yeah, no, it was serious. I saw him the night before and actually did an interview session with him in the afternoon with Ice Cube. And, he was just being a man about it, to be able to show up for that interview in the afternoon and to make it to the sidelines. I mean, he was dehydrated, something that he had never experienced before. I've never experienced it before, and it was pretty serious. So, what you see tonight, in terms of him being on the sidelines and coaching that team, very easily he could have passed that off to his assistant.
So
but he didn't.
So did he have a flu bug or something that dehydrated him?
No, I think when you're dehydrated, you're just lacking liquids going into your system. That's what they always tell me. They tell me once you feel like you're thirsty, then you're dehydrated. So try never to let that happen to you.
Doc, you're the most high-profile basketball player that we've been able to ask this question to. Now, we've asked a lot of current players, and we get a lot of back and forth. You played against Michael Jordan at the end of your career, at the beginning of his, and you followed LeBron James. Who's the better of these two players?
Who's the better?
Yes.
I think that's a fan's argument for one thing.
Okay.
I think if I was going to start a team, and Skip, has called me delusional in the past. He called me the delusional doctor. I think last time I was on a show with him.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I knew it was out of love. I didn't take it, the wrong way.
Total love.
But I always put Oscar Robertson out there and Wilt Chamberlain and Bill
Kareem.
Russell. The guys who came before me. Kareem's in the list. He's on the second team. But if I was starting a franchise, I would start with Kareem. And the Michael LeBron argument, I don't want to really try to settle that for anybody else, I mean, I don't really think it should be settled until LeBron's career is over. I mean, he's done all and everything that anybody has ever done in the history of the league, and so did Michael. And Michael did it probably at, if this is fathomable, a higher level, because he never lost in the finals, and he was Finals MVP 6 out of 6 times. So the bar is pretty high, but LeBron is still playing.
So, but Julius.
So did I avoid that question?
Okay. you did very well, but the point is LeBron has now fallen to 3-5 in NBA Finals. So do you still give him a shot to catch and pass Michael, just in the big picture, just in total achievement?
Well, what you guys are missing, and Shannon probably knows it better than anybody else, is the game is a team sport. So individuals don't win championships, teams win championships. And you're only as good as the team can take you. You can only go as far as the team can take you. So 3-5 doesn't mean anything. I'm more impressed with 8 finals than I am with the record in the finals.
I'm with
you, Doc.
Doc.
If he was 0 for 8 in finals, that would still be an amazing achievement. That's like going to 8 Super Bowls.
But Doc, those ABA titles you won, for sure, you weren't by far the best player on your team. Like, without you, it would not have happened.
Well, yeah, being the best players, I mean, that's icing on the cake. Those guys, all the guys who were on my Nets teams and on my Sixer teams, during the championship year in Philadelphia and the 2 Nets championships in New York, I mean, we're all close today because of that experience. And, I take my hat off to them because I wouldn't be, sitting where I am if it wasn't for them. And that's just the skinny on it.
The last segment, we were talking about a very good young Laker, Lonzo Ball. How good can he make the Lakers, and how good can he be?
Well, this is a very controversial subject because, I think there's a big target on his back because of, what his dad, the comments and the statements and the hype that, has been associated with him. It just sounds like an ongoing reality show. But sort of like the way the game is viewed today and the way the business of sports is viewed today, it's marketing, it's merchandising, it's promotion, it's creating the brand. Even when a brand doesn't exist, at least the impression of a brand and then living up to that potential. So performance is going to be the great measuring stick. Lonzo Ball being able to go out with this big target on his back and going through, the things that he has to go through. And now, Magic had Kareem there.
Right.
When he came in. So he already had the best player in the league, on his team. And he kind of had the freedom to be Magic Johnson, turn the clock back and play like he did in high school and like he did in Michigan. I don't think Lonzo has that luxury. So it is going to be much more difficult, and, whether he'll succeed or not, I don't know. I hope so. I mean, I'm not a hater in any way, shape, or form. So I hope that he succeeds. And the fact that, the league is as diluted as it is in terms of, other eras, how the game used to be played. When you went down the lane, you got slammed down and you got up and you went and shot your free throws. Now it's like a cakewalk, when you go through the lane for a lot of players. So it is different. And I'm not saying it's totally easier, but, you can imagine what Michael's gym numbers would be now. It probably would be 40 a night instead of 31.
You mentioned merchandising and shoes and branding. Before Michael Jordan, the hottest shoe on the market was the Dr. J Converse. Did you see the shoe game going to where it is? I mean, with Michael taking it, and then now everybody has shoe deals, and how big the sneaker market is?
It's still somewhat unbelievable where it is now. I mean, $20, $25 million for shoe endorsements or whatever. I mean, nobody could have thought of that in the 60s, 70s, or even the 80s. So I think it turned a corner, maybe in the 90s, and Nike and Reebok were the leaders there. Under Armour's making a big statement now. So I mean, it's kind of fun to see that, the dollars are being shared, and now players, maybe for the first time, getting their fair share, and it might be overkill in some instances, but getting their fair share, just as the percentage of the gross has allowed for compensation to be more fair than it was in the past. I mean, going from 10 or 20% to 50 to 60% of the gross, those are big numbers, but who does the work? The players.
So the Big Three from Philly airs tonight on FS1 starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. Before we let you go, what has it been like for you coaching in the Big Three?
Well, it's nothing short of amazing. The biggest joy for me has not been standing on the sideline and trying to get guys to listen to me and respect the knowledge that I have and experience that I have, because there are some things about today's game, as I've mentioned before, that I don't totally comprehend and I don't totally get. A lot of the hero ball stuff I don't totally get. I'm kind of, even though my game was rooted in fundamentals, there would be those times to make, extraordinary plays, but it was always rooted in fundamentals. So I always thought the fundamentals were, what it took to win basketball games. So when I'm with the Big Three, the real joy for me is to be with Ice, be with Clyde, be with Rick Mahorn, be with Oak, and, get back with the guys who I played with and played against. Ice and I came in together. He was my rookie or whatever. So, getting a chance to spend a weekend with, my family and his family, going out to dinner, chopping it up, recalling things from our own perspective about what it was like in the 70s and 80s. That's been the real joy for me. I mean, that's been the real bonus to the Big Three League. And then, spending some time around Cube and Jeff and seeing, the passion and desire that they have for the game, period, and then for the league to succeed. I mean, they got a staff that's second to none, so there's always 60 or more people, running around on the weekend, trying to make sure that we feel good about the commitment that we made to them.
Absolutely. Dr. J, thanks for joining us. Catch the Big Three from Philadelphia tonight at 8 Eastern on FS1. No mercy. Next up, Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor wrapped up their four-city world tour in London on Friday. During the press conference, McGregor faked like he was going to slap Mayweather in the head. Then Floyd ripped Conor's signs off the ring and tried to take all of the microphones from the podium. Let's take a listen to their war words in London.
I get to quadruple my net worth for half a fight. Sign me up. You mean no one's gonna kick, no one's gonna knee, no one's gonna elbow, and it's against this little Brillham. I am boxing.
I'm a gorilla, and I eat through fighters like you.
You the pimp, and this your You the student. I'm the teacher. August 26th, I'm gonna take you to school. I run the octagon. I run the ring. Me. You say something else, I'll whoop your in the octagon. When I spark you August 26th, I'm gonna make you face me in the rematch in the octagon. We gonna talk about this. You punk. You.
And then anything.
Chris, did either fighter gain an advantage during the World Tour?
Let me say this. I think watching all 4 press conferences, Conor McGregor is the better trash talker.
Yeah, we knew that going in.
Yeah, although that stuff wasn't really trash talk. I mean, it wasn't clever. It was just juvenile name calling, really,
Yes,
is what it amounted to. But I give McGregor the edge in that. I think both guys ended up saying things that they aren't going to back up and they don't mean. McGregor said, I'll bet my whole purse on the fight. You know he's not doing that. Floyd said, I'll run the octagon. I will fight you in 4-ounce gloves. No, you don't need to be doing that, Floyd.
He does need to be doing it.
No,
I'd like to see
not
that.
with his hands.
No.
I think it was 2-2 if you grade it. I think Floyd won the first one and the third one. McGregor won the second and the fourth. McGregor clearly trying to do the Roberto Duran thing and make Floyd fighting, like just go out there and forget his strategy.
Toe-to-toe slug match.
Sugar Ray was so young when that happened. He didn't have as much experience and he fell for it. Floyd, we know he's seasoned, he's experienced, he's seen everything. He's not going to get outside of himself. So really, it was entertaining for us for a little bit. I don't think either fighter gained an advantage. I don't think either one of them is scared of the other. Floyd because he doesn't think Conor can box, and McGregor because he doesn't think Floyd has any knockout power. So I think they're both going to go in there confident, and they're going to settle it in the ring. And I really don't think either fighter got a mental advantage.
This was a limbo contest, and each fighter tried to see who could get the lowest, because that's what they did, Skip. I don't have a problem with trash talking. I don't have a problem with you trying to sell me something, but it doesn't need to be sexist. It doesn't need to be racist. It doesn't need to be derogatory, and that's what we saw. And I'm disappointed as a society because we've come to accept this. And I hate to say this, guys, but this is the President Trump effect, because he has been allowed to say certain things with no ramifications. There is no president in the history, past or present, in the modern era. Now, what they said, 1800 and George Washington and all these other guys, I don't know what they said, but I'm talking about in my lifetime. And I can remember, I go back to President Ford and come forward and talk like this, Skip. There are no ramifications. And I don't want to make this kind of talk, I don't want to make it normal. Guys talk like this in the barbershop. We talk like this when we're around one another. We go, but to have this for public consumption, this is unacceptable. And I don't ever want this. Call me PC. I'm going to be PC then, Skip.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. You're right. I agree with you. But will this become more the norm?
Yeah, I mean.
Not right away, but eventually.
I mean, everything you got to Skip. I mean, it's like, bleep, bleep. I'm a bleep, bleep, bleep. I mean, where's the creativity in that? There's no creativity in that. You're just saying vile things to try to get the other guy riled up, and I get it. You want to sell the fight. Skip, if they had done nothing after Los Angeles, they had me hook, line, and sinker. I was all in. I mean, I'm going to get the fight anyway because I got to have you there because I want to see the look on your face with me and Floyd at the party. I'll invite you because you my dog. You can come to the party. Joey can't come. Joy is bad because we'll be popping bottles at that factory. You can come.
I'm there.
But Skip, this is unacceptable, and I don't want society to think this is our new normal and to become hardened to this type of rhetoric, because no, there's no place in our society that this should ever be accepted, regardless of who's saying it.
I hear what you're saying, and in spirit, I agree with what you're saying. It was funny watching the end of Wimbledon yesterday, and how complimentary the two finalists were, especially Federer back to Cilic, and vice versa. And I'm thinking, wow, this is so different than the last 4 days.
Boxing.
Wow.
But you got.
Shannon Sharpe.
Yes.
This is not the Donald Trump effect. It's the Conor McGregor effect. Conor waited the first day to see exactly how Floyd was going to play it. Remember, Conor got stuck the first day with the mic in his hand, and he's turned to Showtime and said, what, you know, like, I'm supposed to go now? Because he thought it was going to be the usual UFC press conference where they sit and take questions. And all of a sudden, he's supposed to do a monologue to start off. So he's a little shaky to start. But once Floyd took the microphone and Floyd went to the B word, you could just see Conor's eyes light up like, oh, so that's how we're going to play it. Conor McGregor has no rules in his life to speak of, no rules when it comes to this ultimate sort of fighting and talking. And he accomplished, I believe, a huge goal of his through these 4 sessions, and that was to show Floyd that he doesn't fear him whatsoever, and that he is as crazy or crazier than anyone Floyd has ever encountered in a ring. This is a force unlike anything in boxing, because everybody who fought Floyd all the way up, because he was in the Olympics, had some respect for Floyd. As a boxer, he's the greatest defensive fighter ever. And so as it escalated up the ladder, you know, 20-0, 25-0, 30-0, obviously every opponent is going to come in with a little bit of fear of Floyd. Not that he's going to hurt them or knock them out, but that you're just going to get taught some lessons.
Yeah.
This guy is fearless. He's not afraid, he's not intimidated, and he wanted to look right into Mayweather's eyes and say, I'm here, I'm coming for you, and I'm not going to back off because I have no respect for 49-0, because I fight a different way than anyone you've ever fought. And I thought, silly me, that Floyd would stay above the fray. His body language in these pre-fight sort of conferences is always, I'm Floyd Mayweather and you're not. Yeah. But you could see right away, Conor pushed his button. Conor got under his skin and right into his psyche, because I believe that the Floyd who was firing back at him, I don't believe that was an act. I don't believe he was posing. I don't think it was scripted or contrived. I don't think he was trying to sell tickets. I think Conor got to him. And I get it, because Conor was, it got mean-spirited, man. It got, how low can you go?
Yeah,
but hey, it got him. Floyd was on the run for all 4 days, and in its mission accomplished, again, it doesn't mean he's going to win the fight, but it showed him that, wait a second, I'm up against something I've never had to deal with in or out of the ring, and that's this crazy you-know-what.
You can have a respect, you can trash talk, but when you take it to dance for me, boy.
Okay, I got it. Well, it pushed Floyd's button to the point he used a gay slur in the final section.
And that's,
wow.
And think about what Floyd said. Floyd said, "You think you can hurl insults and slurs? Let me one up you." Like I said, the limbo. You went that low? Yeah. I'm gonna go even lower. I
got it.
And the dancing monkey, Skip. I'm a firm believer in trash talk, but I believe I can do it without being derogatory about someone's race, or I can the rhetoric about someone's religion or their orientation.
But you're trying to apply rules here that don't apply to Conor McGregor. He is not going to apologize for anything he said. He lost no sleep over anything he said. You can say, how dare you? Floyd can say, how dare you? And Conor's saying, something like.
What are you trying to do?
Here's the thing with confidence. That's important. Confidence is hugely important. And I do think McGregor is very confident. But in the ring, it's going to be about skills. Ronda Rousey was as confident as McGregor when she faced Holly Holm. And she got in there. She had been beating up these amateur boxers. She got in there with a real boxer, because Holly Holm was a boxer. And it wasn't even close. And that's what this is going to be.
And Nunes.
McGregor in with a real boxer.
You saw Nunes in New York, Skip. When she was Joy was over here. She was sitting right there. And she didn't say she was going to beat her. She said she was going to knock her out. She was going to wipe the floor with her. She said that. Yeah. And Ronda Rousey, when you're in any sport, the better you are and the more confidence you have, the better your chances are winning. But what happens when the fighter you're fighting is as confident but more skilled than you are? Then what do?
I think you're underestimating Conor's skills, his boxing skills.
Yeah, I'm underestimating them.
Two-handed knockout power.
Yeah.
It's what he does
best. That's with 4-ounce gloves against guys who don't know how to roll with punches, avoid punches.
Skip.
I mean, seriously, does he hit harder than De La Hoya hit?
Or Canelo.
Or Canelo.
Absolutely. Yeah, maybe not Canelo, but
Okay.
he's much quicker-handed than Canelo. Canelo is slow.
What you think Floyd Conor is?
Conor ain't gonna be fast compared to Floyd. He's not nearly as fast as your man Pacquiao, and Pacquiao couldn't hit him.
He's in the ballpark with Pacquiao
Oh,
on hand
come on.
speed.
There's no
And
way.
when you,
There's
and,
no-
this
and
is
Conor, this is Conor
there's
throwing
no
that left. And when you it's Skip. When you load up, what you got to do? You got look at all this. Look what's all this open. What? Let me put it back in my pocket.
That's right.
You guys have no
This-
idea what's about to happen.
The thing
I
is,
just know I know about
this
that.
is the thing too, though. Everybody's saying Conor's gonna bum rush him. Conor is a counter puncher. His style isn't to go out and start the action; it's to counter.
He always gets
when he
somebody
knocked
coming
out
in.
Aldo.
Yep.
Aldo had threw the punch first, and then McGregor countered. Floyd's
Alvarez.
a counter puncher.
So he's gonna have to get out his element
do
to
you
come
think
see
Conor's
Floyd.
afraid of Floyd? Do you think Conor's afraid of getting knocked out?
I don't think
'Cause he's
Arturo
already been there.
Gotti was afraid of Floyd either. I
Sean
don't
Bay
think
Mitchell.
Ricky Hatton was afraid of Floyd. None of them are afraid of Floyd.
Ortiz.
Here's
Yeah,
how
Ortiz
hard.
should have been afraid that he's going to get sucker punched.
AUA. Protect yourself at all times.
Ortiz was actually talking trash to Floyd.
And what happened to him? I knew he was
He
trying
was
to do.
talking to the referee when he got
No,
knocked
at the
out.
beginning,
I
before the
know.
fight, he was talking trash.
Conor said some of the things, hoping that it would ruffle Floyd's feathers. And he was like, okay, I'm going to really get you now and get into a slugging match.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to do that. Skip. I just think, look, why would I fight a crocodile in the water? Let me get him on land where I have some advantage.
This is
Because
gonna
if
be
you start getting the best, I can run the
classic.
tree.
You can run, but you can't hide. You can run,
He's gonna
run.
demolish
He's going to run,
Conor.
run, and you can't hide. This is going to be
Peekaboo,
relentless.
boo.
Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. He's going to start catching him, and when he catches him, he's going to hurt him. And this fight is either going to get stopped or Floyd's going to wind up on his back.
No,
One way or
There
the
is
other.
no
He's
way.
too little and too short. He's too short armed.
You make it seem like Conor Andre the Giant.
You know what? It was amusing to me that at the third stop in Brooklyn, Floyd resorted to wearing heel lifts, which is why Conor was all over him. You're in high heels. He's got high heels on.
He
'cause
had
put
those
lifts
were
on.
sneakers.
He put his lifts in his
whatever.
shoes.
No, stop it.
They weren't high
They
heels.
just had a big
put
heel.
lifts.
They had a
They
big
put lifts
sole.
in
Wearing
them.
wedges?
Something like that. I don't know.
Comfortable.
Floyd gonna be on
okay.
it.
Yeah,
You remember,
yeah,
Professor,
exactly.
you remember Professor Clump?
He's going to
You
destroy.
stand in the mirror with that punching bag, one hand on you.
Also,
Yeah, he's gonna destroy
no
him.
one mentioned today that
Destroy him?
Destroy.
Floyd
What
is
does destroy
41.
mean? He's going to knock
Pitch
him
out.
I'm
out?
starting to think
Shut
he's
up.
gonna
41, he
him out.
hasn't
Knock
fought in
him
2
out?
years.
Wait, Chris
That's
just
right.
predicted a
I'm
knockout. I
starting to
need
think
these
he's gonna
shut
knockout
up.
predictions. You
Shut
got a
up.
knockout,
Because a
right?
lot
Shut
of
up.
knockout comes from your speed. When you get hit with a shot you didn't see coming.
And he ain't gonna see none of them.
Nah.
You got a knockout?
I was walking
You got a
my
knockout?
dog
He's avoiding
on
Joy.
Wednesday, and a bee stung me.
Yeah. You
and
got
they
a
caught me off
knockout?
guard. I'm like, well, what was happening?
You got a knockout? You got a knockout. Come
might
on,
get
go
close.
on the record with
I
a
might,
knockout.
I might.
You might.
I tell you
Have
what.
some courage of your
You're
convictions.
calling a McGregor knockout?
Yeah. Because
Hold
it's
on.
the only way you can win.
I love how-
if it goes to the judges, it's fixed.
I love how you say.
It's fixed.
Boxing's judges, you never know.
Yeah, exactly.
You never
You
know.
would know
You
in
see,
this
you
one.
see what a Skip try to do? Now he'll tell me to have the courage of my conviction.
You need to on
But
this one
Dak
because you don't have
Prescott
it.
predicted that the Cowboys would win the East. Tell him to have the courage of his conviction. Say we gonna win the Super Bowl.
Well, nobody says that.
Whoa.
That's
In
just
July?
not a good idea.
It's just not done.
I
not a
won't
good
double.
idea.
I won't double. If knockout pays double, I'll take Florida in a knockout. If you're gonna pay me double, 2 18
As
wheelers with
crazy
Mountain
as
Dew.
these press
All right,
conferences
done.
got, I don't think that this is going to become a normal thing. One, because these two personalities are completely unique and we won't see them again. And two, this is not a normal press conference. Normally, you are sitting down and being asked questions by a reporter, not asked to do a performance for 4 days straight, going up against someone who's also insulting you. So.
And then Conor comes out, and the first thing he do, he grabs Floyd's head, puts his hand on his head, shaking it. What? Where they do that at?
Well, I will say this. Floyd knows, don't get in a fight, a regular fight with this dude.
No mercy. Our next guest was the #1 overall pick, a 4-time Pro Bowler, and is the NFL's all-time leader in rushing yards by a quarterback. He's also one of the most exciting players in NFL history. Michael Vick, welcome to Undisputed.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you.
Appreciate it.
You last played in the NFL in 2015. How would you sum up your career?
I think it was a great career overall. I think a lot of stones unturned. A lot of things I wish I could have done differently. A lot of downs I wish I could have had back. But, you know, that's the game. And, you know, you just try to be perfect in everything you do. You want to do everything right. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, it was a lot of things that I could have done differently. But I enjoyed the overall experience. I enjoyed the locker room. I enjoyed the camaraderie amongst the players and the coaches and the relationship. So I think that's what I got to hang my hat on.
So let's look at your career. I mean, because basically your career is two different segments.
Yeah.
You had Atlanta, where you were the Michael Vick experience. Yeah. Everybody was the dome was
young
electric.
Michael Vick.
The young Michael Vick. Everybody's in the 7 jerseys. Everybody is running around and all the creativity and the fun you're bringing to the game. And then you go through what you go through. You go to Philly, you win comeback player of the year. But the last half, you're known more for a leader.
Yeah.
Explain those two varying points.
I just reached a point in my career where I felt as if, if you don't grow up and start to do the little things right, then you won't be remembered for things that I think you should always be remembered for as a quarterback. Leadership is, primarily the sole thing that you can hang your hat on. And I didn't do that in Atlanta. I didn't know how. I always wanted to be that guy, but never was outspoken, never had the heart to really step up and do it. I always wanted to lead by example. And when I got to Philly, I was just surrounded by so many young guys. Had a coach who depended on me to lead the locker room, and I felt like I had to step up and take on that responsibility. So it was fun in a sense. It was different, but I watched young guys grow and get better. And as I left and moved off to other things, I watched those guys continue to prosper in the National Football League.
So now we're dealing today with another Dallas Cowboy in some trouble, Ezekiel Elliott.
Well,
just still a kid, and he just can't stay out of harm's way. It's one late-night incident after another. You went through a time, when you talk about the Michael Vick experience, it was an experience just for me watching it on TV. It was the most exciting performances, I think, in the history of the National Football League for those. How many years were you in Atlanta? 6 seasons. 6 years of pure, raw excitement. The greatest broken field running I have ever seen. Mm-hmm. And you didn't have just you had a cannon, man. I mean, you could flat out wing it. And I would just sit in awe of what would happen.
Wasn't always accurate, but
but still, it was so much fun to watch. And yet, as you're going through it, what was it like for you? Can you relate to some of these kids who just can't get it because you weren't quite figuring it out yet? What was the idolatry like that you were feeling in the city of Atlanta in those days?
It was very difficult at times, being a 21-year-old kid and having so much and not really having someone to pattern yourself after in terms of a role model. I always tried to figure out a way to do the right things. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I had no one to, to look at as a role model. It was just difficult. I felt like I was in a world of my own. But it was, just trial and error. And when you're a young guy, sometimes if you don't have that guidance, it just doesn't click. It takes a detrimental situation for you to feel like, you're under pressure, you're under the gun, you have to do something different. And I can relate on so many levels to these young kids getting involved in, self-inflicted stupidity.
Mm-hmm. That's a good phrase.
Yeah, it's difficult to think about, but it makes me more so now want to be more involved in these young kids' lives, and even if it's just picking up the phone and talking to them and letting them know what you have at stake, because sometimes I don't think they realize it.
Mm-hmm. It was, and a lot of people don't realize this, Skip. It was this man's team, led by this man, was the first team to go to Lambeau Field and win a road playoff game.
It was spectacular.
Yeah. You had it all. You had so much. How did you get from that, going to the NFC Championship game, to where you were a year later? How did you fall so quick?
Like I said, no guidance. I always wanted to do the right things, but never really knew how to get away from what I was involved in, the way I came up, what I was accustomed to, the rights and wrongs that I didn't know were.
Not to cut you off, but you mean guidance as far as father figure off the field or someone that you could look up to on the field?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I mean, I was just a young kid and I had so much. So it really wasn't any time to look backwards and say, I need to clean up in this area. these are things that are not going to help me moving forward. This could be some form of mischief. It was just figuring it out on my own. And I hated every minute of it because I knew I was supposed to do better.
Right.
And I knew I had so many people that I was letting down and depending on me, not just teammates, but a whole organization and administration, fan base, you know, which was important. So it took for something detrimental to happen to me in order for me to see the world in a different space and the space that I was living in and how conflicted I was, you know, internally.
I have said this many, many times on television. I'm a dog lover, but I have forgiven Michael Vick because
Skip.
in all my time, I've not seen an athlete go through something as dire as you went through and have to go serve time in prison for it and come back as genuinely, to my eye, because actions speak louder, penitent and contrite and rehabilitated as anyone I've ever seen. And to Shannon's point, you came out of prison and became the leader of the Philadelphia Eagles. It's hard to do.
It's tough.
And if you knew how much I love dogs, it's hard for me to get there. But I got there pretty quickly with you because you showed me in word and deed that you felt so bad about what you had fallen into, and you paid such a lot of people thought you paid too severe a price, but it was a severe price that you did pay. And talk about coming out. What was prison like? Is that what did it for you? Is that what grounded you or regrounded you?
I think in everything in life, you know, depending on what you're going through, it's a silver lining in everything. And it took for me to go through those dark moments to find out who I really was and what I wanted to do with my life moving forward. And sometimes when you're living, you got a lot of money, you don't have time to stop and think about, you know, what your goals are, the goals that you set when you're young and how you want to fulfill those. And you get to a certain point where certain things that you've done to get to that point aren't the norms, the normal things that you want to do anymore, and you forget about them. You know, it's simple as saying a prayer at night. You know, I know it may sound, you know, kind of cheesy, but those are the things that, you know, keep my faith base strong. And I got away from that. I got away from my mom, my loved ones who really put a lot of effort and time into my upbringing and making sure that I did all the things right. You know, everybody just was, you know, falling by the wayside. But going through prison, you know, being able to set new goals, write them down, think about them every day for about 465 days, really was different. It was different, but if I had to change anything about my life, certain things I would change that I was involved in, the wrongdoings, but as far as the time that I had to myself, I would never change that.
You see a guy going through a very similar situation, and for a very different reason, Colin Kapernick. If there was some advice that you could give him, what would you tell him?
As of right now, I would tell Colin to stay patient. You know, it's a very difficult time for him, and we know the reasons why he has to be real meticulous in his walk and his form of thinking right now. Don't get frustrated, and I know it can be difficult right now, but he has to just wait around till a team comes around that can suit to his skill set in terms of plans. And I think Colin's still a great player. I think he has a lot to give. He's fairly young, but he has to land in the right situation. Now, I think that's the reasoning that he's not signed with the team, because every style isn't for every quarterback, and I witnessed that in Pittsburgh. I was able to adjust and make some things happen and win some games and pull one out in the end, but it was tough. It wasn't the easiest thing to do. So I think the irony in his situation is him just having to wait it out and not get discouraged.
A companion topic to Colin that I've always wanted to ask you about was the Riley Cooper situation in Philly. I was so angered because Riley obviously was caught on cell video uttering the single most evil word in the English language. I'm talking about the N word ending in the hard ER. And yet you stepped up, I think it was the next day, and said, I'm going to roll with him, because he said, he expressed his sorrow over it, and you as a team, and you were the team leader, you bought into it, and I thought he should have been gone. Can you reflect on that and your decision to back him publicly right away?
That was part of the leadership. it was not the easiest thing to do because I had Deshaun and Lil Sean and Jeremy and everybody looking at me saying, why are you supporting this? But I looked at a locker room.
You had me saying that too.
Yeah, I had a locker room that was so divided at the time. And we were 2 weeks away from, opening up against the Washington Redskins, first game of the regular season. I'm looking at the guys in the locker room and I'm like, this is my time to step up. Not for just rally in terms of what he did, but in a sense of, the totality of the whole situation was, it was tough on everybody. And Chip put me on the spot. He looked at me, he said, Mike, you have anything to say? And I had to come up with something just, impromptu, right on the spot. But I said what was in my heart, and I wanted everybody to continue to grow from that situation, or try to grow, not continue to grow, because it was so unexpected. And it was shocking to me. It was Riley, a guy who I've grown to know for so many years and spent a lot of time with, and just couldn't see him being that type of person. I knew deep down that wasn't him. I know how he can be when his temper flare, but it was shocking. But in that moment, that was the time for me to step up and lead, and I brought everybody back together.
No regrets.
And that's one of my proudest moments.
That's
one of my proudest moments.
So no regrets about it?
No regrets, absolutely not.
Good for you.
Stand alone.
Interesting.
No mercy. Last week, Pro Football Focus named Aaron Rodgers as the player they would start a franchise with. Rodgers led the league with 40 touchdown passes last season. Tom Brady finished 11th on that list after winning his 5th Super Bowl in February. We're joined once again by Michael Vick. We have this debate on Undisputed all the time, so we need your take. Who's the best quarterback right now, Brady or Rodgers?
I have to go with Tom Brady. But I love Aaron Rodgers, too. Both of those guys were number 12. And I think they're two of the top in the game right now.
Right.
Two of the best. And there's no substitute for guys like those. One guy, almost undrafted, 6th-round pick in Tom, worked his way up to the top. Aaron was fortunate enough to sit behind Brent Favre for years and really hone his game and understand what the quarterback position was about. I think his best quality is his footwork and his mobility outside of the pocket, and just impressive. Now, that's a tough decision to make in terms of who would you want to start your franchise behind, but I think you can't lose. But in terms of the best quarterback right now, I have to give it to Tom coming off that
And you give him
Super
the edge
Bowl.
because of what?
Overall, quarterback play. I mean, he was suspended 4 games last year and came back and played flawless.
Flawless, Shannon. Did you
Flawless.
hear that word? Flawless.
I mean, Aaron had his ups and downs, and listen, we know when Aaron is
He
playing
had
at his
some
peak.
downs. He did have
40-7, as in Tubbs the INT.
When he's at his peak, he plays outstanding, phenomenal. I mean, one of the most accurate quarterbacks to ever play the game. But Tom is just he was a different beast last year.
See, Shannon, quarterbacks know quarterbacks. Great players know really great players.
I can vouch
right?
for that.
Yeah.
I can vouch for that.
Hold on.
Huh?
The man is 3 touchdowns away from having 300, and he's only thrown 72 picks.
I think that's Aaron's greatest quality. I mean, the ability to play keep away and keep the ball out of the defensive guy's hands. I mean, he plays games with the opposition. I won't take that away from him.
But can you tell Skip how difficult that throw that he made rolling to his left as he
Dallas?
Yeah.
To a
Probably
wide
one of the
open
best
receiver.
throws I've ever seen.
Really?
One of the best throws I've ever seen in my life.
Ever. He said
Those
ever.
are things that
Catch.
can't be compensated in terms of what Aaron
Can't
Rodgers
teach.
brings to the table. But
Can't teach it.
Okay, but Tom Brady's better because Tom Brady is 25-9 in the postseason, and Aaron Rodgers, since he won his solo Super Bowl, has lost 6 games since then, and in those 6, not once has he thrown for 300 yards.
I just think
Wow.
Tom does it with a bunch of no-name players, and not
He
to take
does.
credit away from any of those guys that he played with.
I got
but,
it.
You can barely name some of the
Edelman,
guys. That's
Amendola, Chris Hogan.
Can you name Bill Belichick?
The kid was number 19, and he
Can
was
you-
pretty good.
Can you name the defense that's only given up 30 points or more 3 times in 34? Tom Brady's defense has given up 30 points 6 times in his losses. But see, Skip, he glossed over that.
But that's a credit to Belichick.
Did I gloss over the fact that they're down 10 to the Legion of Boom in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, and Brady goes 13 for 15 for 124 just in the fourth quarter to rally them to defeat, to a victory?
3 of the guys had surgery that
they were
offseason.
hurt. That's right.
And the
They
2
were hurt.
backups, one tore his ACL and the other one broke his leg. Oh, are you going to leave that out, Skip?
And are you going to leave out the fact that against what most people were calling the hottest defense in football, the Atlanta
They weren't
Falcons?
hot.
That's what everybody said going into
were
the
hot.
Super Bowl. They were hot.
They were hot.
And they're up 28 to 3, and Brady just roars back by throwing for 250 yards in the fourth quarter and overtime. Are you kidding me? Game over, Shannon.
That's a game that I'm trying to forget about.
I'll bet you are as a Falcon.
As a fan of the Falcons and my heart being in Atlanta, that was super difficult to watch. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but it was Tom, and that's the only reason
Arrogance.
I'm able to deal with it.
All they had to do
Any
was
other
run
quarterback
the
would
ball.
win. And if that was any other quarterback besides, or any other team besides the
That's
Patriots,
true.
we win.
But here's the thing. Explain to me this. How does the team that's up 25 run the ball the same amount of times in the second half as the team down by 25?
I mean,
Arrogance.
yeah, arrogance. Yeah. At the end of the day, but
Shannon.
you got to find ways to win in those situations.
You do.
You got to do what's right, but it's neither here or there.
I thought
It's
your
hindsight.
neighbor was the MVP, right?
He was the MVP.
Okay, well then
He got the
Wait
trophy.
a second. So you dance with who brung you, as they say. He had brought them that far, and you say, we're going to live or die with Matt Ryan flinging the football.
Look, the trophy was already in his trophy case. That was going home with him. At that juncture of the game, the clock is your ally. It's your friend. You want to continue it to run.
Right.
The Patriots already understood, if we run the ball, we're going to run out of time.
Yeah.
The Falcons thought, well, we just going to show them how great we are. We're going to try to hang 60. Just win the game.
Yeah, but they're looking at 12 on the other sideline, number 12.
And as long-
well, we got
as long as he's
So I
over
can
there-
understand that.
Yeah.
As long as he's over there, he can't hurt you. It's when he's on the field, when you go 3 and out.
Yeah.
Then you get an opportunity to see what number 12 can do.
So, by the way, nobody really cares in the NFC about the Atlanta Falcons.
Stop hating.
I do.
I know you do, but let's talk about the team in the NFC, my Dallas Cowboys, favored by Las Vegas to get to the Super Bowl. How much do you trust my Cowboys this year?
I trust them all the way to the end until they meet Atlanta late in the year in the NFC Championship game,
Oh,
which
so
is my
that's-
prediction.
all right.
Because I think Dak is a great quarterback.
Do you?
Hopefully Zeke, yes.
Yeah?
Hopefully Zeke gets everything together and he don't miss a
They
couple
were the
games.
favorite until this news
Dallas
came out.
defense always,
It's a little shaky.
surprises me in terms of how well they do. Either they come out and they play good or, it's not so good. So I think that's the focal point.
What do you see in young Dak? What do you like?
I love his pocket presence. I love his accuracy. I also love, what they're doing with him in terms of the offense. He's playing in the pro-style offense, and they give him the liberty to do a lot of great things as a young passer. You've seen him checking off at the line last year. You've seen him,
He did.
giving signals to Dez and making sure that, the offense ran smooth. The ball distribution was awesome. So, those are things that you can't teach a young quarterback. You can tell in terms of being around Tony Romo and Tony Romo being there, it really helped him out as far as the skill set.
You remember your rookie year, though. Head spinning a little bit. It was hard to process.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right?
It's tough. That's why I take my hat off to Dak in terms of the accomplishments. I think they should have went further. And this year will be scary. It will be a great race to the end in the NFC East.
They're the Cowboys. And for Skip to say the defense is a little shaky is like saying the Titanic sank a little bit. You already know what's going to happen to your team. And I bet you at the end of this show, when Vegas get that news that Zeke is going to probably miss a few games,
Who's the backup?
they're not going to be the
Darren McFadden.
Darren
He's
McFadden.
pretty good. He's not bad.
Skip. He
Won't be too bad.
That's
Shouting
why
like ice.
I was saying we are going to sign Michael Vick just to run the ball. We might have to.
I give him a game.
He would give him a game.
He would
In
just,
one game.
You would just tell us how sore you was after that flag football. Imagine when somebody put them licks on you.
So speaking of the best team, New England looks like a prohibitive favorite now. They won the Super Bowl, then they won the offseason. Do you see anybody challenging New England next year?
It's going to be tough. Pittsburgh. I see Pittsburgh. And
you got some Steeler in your heart,
yeah, I still
right?
got Steeler in my heart, and I always will have. But, they got
Joe Green at 26, Lambert, Mel Blount. Which one of them guys come back to help that defense? Because that's you talk about defense.
You got Martavius Bryant back.
They did?
Yeah, which will help stretch the field. Antonio Brown. And, of course, the great running game, Le'Veon Bell. Ben is back. Ben is by far one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I had a pleasure of working with him in 2015 and just seeing some of the extraordinary talents that he possesses as a quarterback.
Which are what?
Vision, the ability to understand the game and the changes that's being made around him from the opposition on the spot. Just mobility that people never gave him enough credit for. Pocket presence, awareness, competence, everything is A1. I had a great time being around Ben. He really re-energized me in terms of football and helped me get through that season. Yeah, absolutely.
I bet there are times you wish you'd weighed 250 and could just shrug off a blitzer,
man,
right?
Can have people all over my back and still chugging 50 yards to, Antonio Brown.
Okay, you mentioned Martavis, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. You mentioned Big Ben. Offensive line is good. You didn't mention the defense. How are they going to
That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part about this conversation. When I think about the Steelers, I think about dynamic offense. But in terms of the defense, I know Mike Tomlin is a defensive guru. But, when you got so many weapons, on a team like New England, you have to be able to cover all your bases. You got to be able to play. You have to be able to play multiple coverages. You can't just sit back and, protect the corners in a cover two, so to speak. You got to be able to play some man. You got to be able to switch it up, and you can't give Tom the same looks because he'll kill you. Now, points as far as point-wise matching up, I think in terms of the offenses, they'll be similar.
Look at the teams that's beating Tom Brady in the playoffs. What could all of them do if they beat him in the playoffs or the Super Bowl? They could get to the quarterback.
You got to put
the
pressure on
Giants,
Tom.
the Von Millers, the Ravens defense. You look at the teams that beat them. If you can't go get home with 4 guys, you can't beat him.
Okay, but it sounds like Michael has a Super Bowl rematch set up here, Atlanta, New England, right? With a different outcome? Is that what you're
He's hoping for a different team.
Yeah.
New England, Atlanta, New England, possibly Dallas. It's going to be a great race.
Oh, you're giving Dallas a possibility.
yeah. No, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Atlanta's rebuilt.
Look, Randy White playing?
Wait, he just said Atlanta's rebuilding, so.
Well, not rebuilding, but they're adding pieces to.
They are.
Can you imagine what it's been like to go into the Mercedes-Benz on Thursday night, that retractable roof, because it closes like the Mercedes-Benz emblem, and then it opens up like this here, Skip, on Thursday night with the trophy.
That'd be awesome. Dream come true.
What could have been? What should have been?
Well, he's predicting they might get back there next season, so.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey,
you're off the bandwagon now?
The future's bright.
You're off the bandwagon? You leave Atlanta and now you're just done with them already?
I'm in L.A. I live in L.A. We live in L.A. now, though.
Well, you lived in L.A. last year and you were on the
Oh, I
bandwagon.
did?
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't. I mean, my heart was.
Oh, yeah.
Your heart was in Kansas City, then Pittsburgh.
Selling out. No mercy. Great stuff with Michael Vick today. Thank you to Dr. J, Michael Vick, Mark Schlereth, and Chris Broussard for joining the show today. Check us out at the same time tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern.
Fox Sports, 1 of 1.